All right. Um, we talked about the PPF in our previous class. We talked about the straight line PPF or the linear PPF and looked at a few examples with how to compute the opportunity cost of one commodity. Um, we also looked at the computation of opportunity cost um, and try to understand that the opportunity cost will include the implicit and the explicit cost. So that is when you want to compute an opportunity cost for someone taking an action. And the opportunity cost is simply the best alternative forgone. If you remember this figure, we said that the opportunity cost of a good is computed. Let's say if you want to find the opportunity cost for good X, we look at the opportunity cost for good Y or the good Y, the amount of good Y we are losing divided by the amount of good X we are gaining. So for instance, if we want to find the opportunity cost of, let's say, good Y, then we look at the good X lost divided by good Y gained. So that is the basic idea of how to calculate the opportunity cost. We want to look at the absolute value. All right. So um, we got to the point where we have about PPF. So the PPF can be a straight line or can be about PPF. What is the difference? So remember that we are trying to model a real world phenomenon. So in our model, the best model will be the one to capture what really happens in the world. So the difference here is that the bound PPF is able to capture the real world phenomenon in a better way. What way? The linear PPF assumes that resources that are used in the production are fully compatible across sectors. But this is not really true. In reality, resources are not fully compatible. They are not, in other words, completely transferable or adaptable across different sectors. So if it is true that resources are not fully compatible or adaptable, transferable across sectors, then the opportunity cost of producing a good will increase as more of that good is produced. So that is what the bound PPF is able to capture. The straight line PPF assumes that moving from this point, let's say point A to point B, point C, because resources are fully adaptable, the opportunity cost for moving from point A to point B or from point B to point C will be the same. So let's assume that an economy produces only two goods, let's say cars and computers. As the economy moves from point A to point B to point E, let's say this is cars, this is computers. Because of the limitation of the current resources and technology, the economy would have to give up or sacrifice cars in order to produce more of computers, right? So that is what we see here in the next table, this table. So if you want to produce, you're moving from point A to point B, C, D, E. To produce more of computers, we have to give up cars. So initially 400 cars, zero computers at A. At point B, 300 cars, 2,500 computers. And as we reduce the number of cars being produced, we are increasing the number of computers. That is the idea of the PPF. So we can just put the coordinates in for each point, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different coordinate points. We can use that to compute the opportunity cost of, let's say, computer. Because we are gaining computers, we want to calculate the opportunity cost for producing computers, which is the same as the computers gained at the bottom and then the cars sacrificed. We know that that will be the change, right? So the first row here, we don't have any previous, let's say A prime, we don't have it. So we have NA here. But moving from point A to B, we are losing 100 cars and gaining 2,500 computers. That is moving from 400 cars to 300 cars, and then 200 zero computers to 2,500 computers. So that is what we have here. If you just take it or put that into the opportunity cost column, you see that we are going to have 0.4 cars, 0.04 cars to be the opportunity cost of producing one computer. So to produce one computer, you have to give up 0.04 cars. As we move on from B to C, we have to give up 0.05 cars for one computer. And then as we move on from C to D, we have to give up 0.06 cars. And then from D to E, we have to give up 0.1 cars. So the fact that resources are not fully compatible will mean that as you produce more and more of a particular commodity, the opportunity cost of that commodity increases. I can ask you to compute the opportunity cost from A to B. Okay, just that. And you should be able to do it. So what is the opportunity cost of moving from point A to B? The formula or the idea of opportunity cost is Whatever you are gaining comes down here, and whatever you are losing goes up here, right? So we don't know. If we are moving from point A to point B, what are we gaining? Are we gaining computers or cars? Who can answer this? Are we gaining computers or cars?
Computers?
We are gaining computers. So how many computers are we gaining? How many computers are we gaining?
From which points?
We are moving from point A to point B. How many computers are we gaining?
Aren't we losing 1,000?
Say that again.
Losing 1,000? From point
Okay.
A to point B, computers looks like it's going down.
Okay, good. So the first answer should be corrected. What are we gaining? Moving from point A to point B.
Cars,
Good. So how many cars are we gaining here?
100.
100. So you can put the 100 here. So that means you are computing for the opportunity cost for producing cars, right? You're gaining 100 cars and you're losing computers. How many computers are you losing?
1,000.
1,000. Initially you were here, now you are here. So you are losing 1,000. You are gaining 100 here. So you are losing 1,000. So this becomes opportunity cost for cars, right? So although I didn't tell you to find the opportunity cost for anything, I just said find the opportunity cost for moving from A to B. You have been able to determine that we are looking for the opportunity cost for cars because we are gaining cars by moving from point A to point B. Now, what will this be? So this will be down here we have cars. Top here we have what? Computers. So 1, 2, we have -10 computers over 1 car. So what is the opportunity cost for producing 1 car? You see, the answer is that you have to give up what? 10 computers. Give up 10 computers in order to produce 1 car. Does it make sense? Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is the opportunity cost for moving from point C to D? Let's try that too. So from C to D, you can write opportunity cost, but you don't know what you're calculating. So just wait. We are going to do that. From C to D, what are we gaining?
100 cars.
100 cars. So the denominator is going to be 100 cars.
Do you have to know which opportunity costs we're looking for? Like, I know that, well, I guess you're saying opportunity cost. So does that always mean gaining?
So if you want to find an opportunity cost is the meaning of opportunity cost is what are you losing for taking a particular action. Okay.
Okay.
So,
I'm just asking because the one on the chart that you have it for compute for cars. Wait, you have cars. Sorry, I don't know. Lose gain. Mm, okay, never mind.
I think I understand what you're asking, but a few more examples will clarify that.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm just asking, what is the opportunity cost for moving from point C to point D? Nothing is added. That is all my question. What is the opportunity cost for moving from point C to D? So you don't know what you are going to compute opportunity cost about. But always to compute an opportunity cost, you have to take an action and then find what you are giving up. So always the denominator will be what you are gaining, always. And the numerator will be what you are losing. So if you are gaining 100 cars in the denominator here, then you're finding the opportunity cost for cars because that is what you're gaining, right? And then,
I get it now. So it's because we're going from C to D, but if we were doing going from D to C, then it'd be the other way around, right?
perfect.
Okay.
But we'll get there. We'll do that and you see um, that that's the idea. Yes.
Okay.
So if
Okay.
you've been able to catch it, great. Before we did the example.
Thank you.
Okay. So you're losing here from C to D. What are you losing? How many computers are you losing? So that's going to be
2000.
2000. Okay, 2000. 2000, you're losing 2000 computers. And therefore, the opportunity cost is going to be 1, 2, 1, 2 is going to be what? 20, right? You
Yes.
have negative 20 computers over one car. This means that the opportunity cost for producing one car is giving up 20 computers. Good. Now, let's say this is E. What is the opportunity cost for moving from point E to point D? Let's do that too. So we want to move from point E to point D. So you don't know, let's assume you don't know which opportunity cost you're calculating. You ask yourself, moving from point E to point D, what am I gaining? Am I gaining cars or computers? So you're moving up, and here you are moving left. What are you gaining?
Cars.
You are gaining,
No,
you're moving from point
computers,
E to
sorry.
point D.
Yeah, computers.
You're gaining computers. How many computers are you gaining?
2500.
Okay, so 2,500 computers. And therefore, you are losing how many cars?
100.
100 cars. So you're losing means minus. So gaining 2,500 computers means that you are basically calculating the opportunity cost for computers, right? So that's it. And therefore, this is going to be negative, this is cars, -1 cars divided by 25 computers. Normally, we want the denominator to be 1. So we can say 1 over 25 divide 1 over 25, -1 over 25 cars divided by 1 computer. This means that to be able to produce 1 computer, you have to give up 1 over 25 cars. 1 over 25 should be around 0.04 cars. So -0.04 cars divided by 1 computer, meaning sacrifice 0.04 cars to produce 1 computer. Does it make sense? I hope it does. So this is how you calculate the opportunity cost using the PPF. The way that we learned this means that even if I tell you to find opportunity cost for producing cars, it will be easier because you don't have to go through that, which we're going to do a few examples. But make sure that you understand this very well because that is going to be the backbone for whatever we are going to do next. Okay, now we want to look at the shift of the PPF. So the PPF can shift. If you have a PPF like that, we can have a bodily movement or the movement rotation along one of these points. But what was going to make the PPF shift outward? The only time the PPF is going to shift outward will be if there is an increase in the quantity or the quality of resources in that economy. So labor increasing, capital, natural resources increasing, an increase in technology or better rules of the game. All these can shift the PPF outward like that. It will shift inward. So if you have the original PPF like that, it can shift inward. If resources are destroyed, if technology or the rules of the game worsens. So in your book, you have this. This is just the shift in consumer good. So there's a shift up outwards. Consumer goods and capital goods, both shifting outwards. And this is the opposite, both shifting inwards. And this is where there's a rotation. So when you see this panel, this one, you can see that consumer goods, there's a shift in consumer goods, but nothing has happened to capital goods. This is called rotation on the capital goods axis. So it shows a change affecting consumer goods production. So more consumers or more consumer goods can now be produced at any given level of capital goods, right? So we have only capital goods here. We can produce more consumer goods. And this is just a change affecting the capital goods. Now let's see whether we understand what we've done so far. So this is a figure which depicts production of blankets and pillows. The question is if this economy devotes all its resources to the production of blankets, then it will produce what? So all the resources being devoted to the production of blanket means we'll be here at the point F. So at point F, we are producing 0 pillows. So this is where pillows production is 0 pillows and 360 blankets. So that should be D. If you want to say this is pillow, comma, blanket, then the number of pillows being produced here is going to be 0. And the number of blankets being produced here is going to be 360. That is what it means. It's just the point, the coordinate of this point. Right? Any question? So there's no one in there. Okay. Now let's go to the second. So a movement from point H to K could be caused by what? So we want to move from point H. This is H. H is on the PPF line. We are moving from point H to K. This can be caused by what? What can happen so that the PPF shrinks or we move to the left of the PPF? That is what the question is about. So from point H to K would be, of course, unemployment of resources. It can be a decrease in the preference for pillow. We are not looking at preferences here. We are looking at production of goods and services. It cannot be fewer resources available for production of pillow. Our assumption is that resources are fixed. So therefore, this also cannot be right. So when there is unemployment of the resources, although they are fixed, if we don't use them, then we can move to an inefficient point. This case called, or any point inside the PPF is called an inefficient point. Now, the question is, if the economy moves from point F to G, which is from point F here to G, remember point F is on the PPF line, okay? Any point on the PPF line is efficient. So yes, we're at an efficient location, point F. We are moving to point G. Well, you remember any point outside the PPF is unattainable. The only way we can move up will be through increase in technology or economic growth. So the question is, when we move from point F to G, which of the following is true? And the answer should be B, right? The economy has experienced economic growth. And it can be any of the three. Okay. So question 4. The opportunity cost of this economy moving from point I to point H is what? All right. We are moving from point I to H on the PPF. So definitely you know what we are gaining. You're moving down like that and moving right. So let's do it. The opportunity cost of Of course, we know we are gaining pillows. So I think that's what the question even said. Question 5, right? 4. Okay, point I to H. It didn't ask anything specific. So from I to H. Now moving from point I to H, we are gaining pillows. So definitely we are going to say pillows here. And we are losing blankets. So blankets here. Negative blankets. But the question is, how many pillows are we gaining? How many blankets are we losing? So I has, let's say this is blanket and this is pillow. You simply know that I is going to have how many blankets here? 320 blankets, right? This is it, 320. And how many pillows? 120 pillows. H is going to have how many blankets? 200 blankets. And how many pillows? 240 pillows. Now, how many pillow did we gain from moving from point I to point H? We gained 240
100.
minus 120, right?
Yeah,
Which is
120.
120 pillows gained. So plus, how many blankets did we lose?
Mm, 120.
So that will be 320 minus 200, which is also 120. Therefore, we are calculating the opportunity cost for pillows here. So that will be equal to 120 goes into 121. So -1 blankets all over 1 pillow. So therefore, you conclude the opportunity cost of moving from I to H is 1 blanket, losing 1 blanket. So you are producing 1 pillow to lose 1 blanket. Okay. So you see that the answer here is 120 blanket. It means they did not simplify it. So
Mm-hmm.
they just quoted this for you. It means if you want to gain 120 pillows, you have to lose 120 blankets. But we simplified it to get this. Okay. So
Do
that
you
is
want it to always simplify it or should we leave it?
so it's in yes, you have to simplify it because you want to be able to answer a lot of questions. I can ask you what is the opportunity cost for producing 1,000 pillows. So if you have 1 blanket over 1 pillow, and I ask you what is the opportunity cost for producing 1,000 pillows, you just multiply this by 1,000, you multiply this by 1,000, you tell me 1,000 blankets,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that is why it's always good to simplify. And some of the questions will ask you to simplify it. Some will just do it this way, but you have to know what you're doing.
Okay.
All right. Now, the opportunity cost of this economy moving from I to F is, so this is I. We want to move from I to F. Do you want to try that and tell me the answer?
Sure.
Okay. So take some 2 minutes to do that. Please let me know when you get the answer.
I got an answer.
Oh, okay. What's the answer, please?
I got 120 pillows.
Okay, so you're losing 120 pillows.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the opportunity cost for moving from I to F is 120 pillows. Is that right, everybody? Did you all get it? Same answer? Or you want us to go through one more time? Okay, I also got it, Manuela. All right. Who else? Okay. Then we can move on. Great. Um, so that should be 120 pillows. Okay. So what about K to H? The same idea. You can move from K to H. But let's try K to H. So opportunity cost from K to H. So let's say we have pillows and blankets. We are moving from K to H. So what will be K? What are the coordinates of K? Pillow will be 180 and blanket will be
200.
200. For H, pillow will be 240 and
Mm-hmm.
blanket will be what?
200.
200. So moving from K to H, what are we gaining? Let's start with, um, yeah. What are we gaining when we move from K to H?
Pillows.
We are gaining pillows. So pillows will come down here. So pillows. How many pillows are we gaining?
Manuela said 60 pillows.
Say that again. So we have 240 minus 180, right? And that's gonna be, I think, yeah, 60. So we are gaining 60 pillows. And what are we losing? We are losing blankets. Is that true?
Yes. Or we didn't gain any or lost any.
Okay, good. So from K to H, these are blankets. So we are losing no blanket, zero blanket. So the answer is going to be zero blanket. What does it mean? It means that if you move from an inefficient point to an efficient point, you don't have to give up anything. You are just using the resources that you were not using previously. So you are using the idle resources to produce 60 more pillows, and therefore you don't have to even sacrifice any blanket for that. All right. That is why it's always good to produce on the PPF. That is the only efficient point that your resources, given your resources and available technology, can allow you to produce. So you have zero. All right. So this is for you to check your understanding. Make sure you understand everything down here. We have discussed everything in this part, and we want to move on. All right. Any question before we move on? If not, then we move on to chapter 2, the second part of it. Here, we will talk about comparative advantage and specialization. So talk about absolute advantage, comparative advantage, and stuff like that. There's a video I want us to watch quickly. Mm,
I have just one quick question.
yes, please do ask.
So I know that you said that we'll be having to submit like maybe graphs or drawings. Um, would you show us how to create a graph like this? Like on, I don't think you said we would be using Excel, or would we ever have to do a graph like this for you? Like a PPF?
Oh, yeah. So what you can do is to use a pen and paper like I'm doing for
Oh, okay,
these,
okay.
yeah, these kind of graphs. Use a pen and paper and draw it, scan it, attach it to your work, and then send it to me. But we'll be using Excel for other stuff.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
for other like the demand and then supply, the movement, we'll be using Excel.
Okay.
All right. But for this, just scan it for me.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. So let's quickly watch this video. It's a 7 minute video. And by the time we finish with the second part of the lecture, we'll understand whatever is in the video. But for now, if you don't understand anything, it's okay. Just enjoy the video.
Let me tell you about the island of Tasmania. It's about 130 miles off the coast of southeastern Australia. A long time ago, when seas were low, Tasmania was part of Australia. During that time, the archaeological record documents that Tasmanians fished, and they used bone tools. About 10,000 years ago, rising waters cut Tasmania off from Australia. On at least 3 of the smaller islands, the isolated human population died out completely. In Tasmania, the 4,000 hunter-gatherers remained with no contact with the rest of humanity at all. They lost technologies they once had. No more fishing, no more bone tools. They also missed new inventions such as stone tools, fishing nets, and fire that were adopted in Australia. When Europeans discovered the Tasmanians in 1642, they found that this extreme isolation had created the simplest material culture of any people in the modern world. Without access to other people, some island populations shrink, others even vanish. Fortunately for most of us, human cooperation has expanded over time. As we saw in the previous videos, we enjoy enormous benefits from specialization in trade. One reason for this beneficial cooperation is what economists call comparative advantage. 2 things are surprising about comparative advantage. First, just by rearranging who does what, we can make more stuff through specialization in trade, even if no one ever gets any better at doing any line of work. But the second insight's my favorite. If you get better at doing something, that obviously benefits you, but it also benefits me, even though my abilities to produce haven't changed at all. Let me show you how this works. It's best seen with a simple example. Just 2 people, Bob and Ann, who produce just 2 goods, bananas and fish. Here's what Bob can do if he spends all of his time producing only 1 good. Bob can either gather 10 bananas, or he can catch 10 fish. Ann can either gather 10 bananas, or catch 30 fish. So let's say they each split their time between producing bananas and fishing. Bob and Ann each produce 5 bananas, Bob produces 5 fish, and Ann produces 15 fish. In total, they produce 10 bananas and 20 fish. You math wizards in the audience surely see an obvious way to increase this total. If Bob produces just bananas and Ann produces just fish, then the total rises to 10 bananas and 30 fish. So just by rearranging who does what, we get more total stuff. Now you might think this outcome is simply the result of the division of labor that we covered previously, but you'd be wrong. The key insight from the division of labor is that workers individually get more productive when they specialize. Yet in this scenario, neither Bob nor Ann has gotten any better at producing bananas or fish. Just by rearranging what tasks each does is what made total production increase. The key to understanding how this works is opportunity cost. Bob has to choose to gather bananas or catch fish. When he chooses to gather a banana, he gives up 1 fish. In essence, Bob trades with himself. He can use his time to gather bananas or trade that time to catch fish. And the cost of that trade is 1 fish per banana. That's Bob's opportunity cost. The same holds true for Ann, but her cost of producing 1 banana is 3 fish. In the amount of time that it takes Ann to gather 1 banana, she could have caught 3 fish. She trades with herself, 1 banana for 3 fish. So Bob only has to give up 1 fish to produce 1 banana, but Ann must give up 3 fish to produce a banana. Ann's opportunity cost of gathering a banana is higher than Bob's. She can improve her situation if she can get bananas for less than 3 fish, and Bob can improve his situation if he can get fish for less than 1 banana. Let's say Ann trades 2 fish to Bob for 1 banana. They each gain. If Ann wants a banana, she can either gather it herself and give up 3 fish, or she can catch only 2 fish and then trade them to Bob. She prefers the lower cost option, and so she trades. Bob prefers the lower cost option too. Instead of giving up a whole banana to catch a fish, he can trade that banana for 2 fish. Now he's only giving up a half a banana for a fish. You can see that even if Ann is better at everything, nothing in this story changes. She still benefits from trade because the number of fish Ann gives up to pick a banana herself is greater than the number of fish that she must catch and give to Bob in order to get a banana from Bob. Now for an insight that is really counterintuitive. What happens if Ann gets better at fishing, Let's say that she can now catch 40 fish. Obviously, that's good for Anne, but it also means that bananas just got more costly for Anne to produce herself. She now has to sacrifice 4 fish for each banana that she gathers. By becoming a better fisherman, Anne becomes a comparatively worse banana gatherer. And this fact helps Bob. The reason is that Anne is now willing to trade more fish for each banana that she gets from Bob. So although Bob's ability to produce hasn't changed, he can now get more fish for his bananas. Comparative advantage is a beautiful thing. No matter what my talents are, I can still help you, even if you are better at everything. The more different we are from each other, the more we benefit from trading with each other. Let's get back to the real world. What comparative advantage practically means for most people is that we each spend most of our working time at a job that utilizes each of our comparative talents. How do you know what you're comparatively good at? What you get paid for your job tells you that. Comparative advantage is the main force driving us to use our talents in those jobs that we do best. It's why people who are good at math tend to become engineers, and those who have a good graphic sense tend to go into the arts. Specialization and trade play key roles in the movement from poverty to prosperity. We would be desperately poor without them, but they alone do not explain the full extent of our prosperity. Another feature of the modern world is important: innovationism. Our society is an orgy of innovations. This innovationism would be impossible without specialization and trade, and yet specialization and trade do not guarantee innovationism. This is a topic for a future video.
All right. So what we are going to do is about what you just watched. The importance of comparative advantage, the difference between absolute advantage and comparative advantage. And then why, if someone is good or has a low opportunity cost for producing a particular commodity, then that entity, that person should specialize. We will understand this. All right. So when we talk about absolute advantage refers to the ability to produce a good or a service at the lowest possible cost. That is all. So if you're able to do that, then you have the absolute advantage in doing that. You have the lowest possible cost. However, with comparative advantage, we are looking at the ability to produce the good or the service at the lowest opportunity cost. So please note the difference here. And of course, if you're able to produce if you're able to produce at the lowest opportunity cost, then you should specialize. The law of comparative advantage says that the individual or the firm or the region or the country with the lowest opportunity cost of producing a particular good should specialize in that good. The advantages of specialization is that you're able to take advantage of the individual preferences and natural abilities. It allows each worker to develop expertise and experience at a particular task, reduces the need to shift between different tasks, and then allows for the intro of more specialized machines and large-scale production techniques. These are the importance of specialization. All right. Why do individuals or countries trade with each other? The reason is it helps us to specialize in the production of goods and services in which we are relatively better than others, and then exchange those goods and services to buy a variety of other goods and services that we want from others. And we will see why that is so. You saw from the video, but we'll add some numbers to it. So how to find out which goods and services should we produce ourselves and which goods and services should we buy from others? The answer is very simple. Look at your opportunity cost. If your opportunity cost for producing that good is lower than the other person, then you will specialize in that. And this idea is from, I think, David Ricardo, in I think 1811 or so, when he proposed this, he formulated this idea of comparative advantage. I I like his ideas. Those who will be doing economics, going deeper into it, you might meet him on the way. So this is the model of comparative advantage and trade. So we're going to explore the law of comparative advantage and trade using two examples. Remember, we understand the opportunity cost in a PPF. The linear PPF is going to help us understand that together with the opportunity cost, the idea of opportunity cost. The assumptions used in these two examples will be that there are two economic agents. You know who economic agents are, right? So individuals or countries, two countries or two individuals, and they will decide if they want to engage in trade. A mutually beneficial trade means that the trade will benefit both of them. So if that is true, then they will decide to trade. So there are two goods that each economic agent can produce. There are scarce resources. And then for each economic agent, the individual opportunity cost of producing the goods, the two goods are constant. Okay, so that is why we have to use the linear PPF. All right, so let's talk about Harry and Megan. They both live in a small town called Colorado, and they are both electric technicians. Megan can take 1 hour or uses 1 hour to manufacture a cooler. This is one good. And 2 hours to build a radio. Harry, on the other hand, can produce one cooler or a cooler in 30 minutes, but uses 4 hours to build radio. Will they benefit from specialization and trading with each other? Well, when you just look at what is there, you might think that no, they shouldn't even specialize. They should just do their thing. And especially with Harry can use 30 minutes to produce a cooler. So why would Harry want to even trade with Megan, who will take 1 hour to manufacture a cooler? But this is what the magic of trading and opportunity cost shows its face. In doing this, you have to draw your input table. The input table will record the resources and the rates of production. So the resource here is the time required. So that is the time required used in the production of the two goods. So we want to visualize it. So with the input table, you list on the left-hand side the two economic agents, Megan and Harry. And then you want to list the resources in here. So how many hours, for instance, does it take to produce one radio and one cooler for Megan and Harry? So for Megan, we know it takes 2 hours to produce one radio. That is what we have here. Again, for Megan, it takes 1 hour to manufacture a cooler. That is what we have here. For Harry to produce a cooler, it takes 30 minutes. So that is what we have here, which is 0.5 hours, and then 4 hours to build the radio. So this is what we call the input table. Now, from the input table, you move on to what we call the output table. So you move from there, you come to the output table. Suppose each had 12 hours in a day to work on the radio and the cooler. So the resources available to them is 12 hours. So in the output table, you list how many resources is available to them and what is the production, what is the output. So production is the same as output here. For Megan, in 12 hours, Megan could produce 6 radios if she worked only on radios, right? For 12 hours, Megan can produce 6 radios. And for 12 hours, Megan can produce 12 coolers. Using the information from the input table. It takes 2 hours for Megan to produce one radio. If it takes 2 hours for Megan to produce one radio, in 12 hours, Megan can produce 6 radios. Does that make sense? If it takes 1 hour to produce a cooler, then in 12 hours, she produces 12 coolers. And you do the same thing for Harry. So this becomes your output table. Any question with this? Now, if there is no question, you want to look at Megan's PPF. You can decide, okay, in the 12 hours, let's assume Megan decides to produce no radio and spend all the 12 hours on producing coolers. So that is A. You can split the hours into 2. Okay, she spends 6 hours producing radio and 6 hours for coolers, or 12 hours for radio and no resource left for coolers. So we are just sharing the resource. And then if that happens, what will be the production of radios and the production of coolers? So A, for Megan, if Megan spends 0 hours in producing radio, it means she's going to produce no radio. If she spends 12 hours in producing coolers, that means he gets 12 coolers because she will spend an hour producing coolers. If the resources are shared equally, then she will be able to produce only 3 radios and 6 coolers. If this is how the resources are shared, then for 12 hours, she will be able to produce 6 radios and no cooler. You can put this on the PPF because this is the production. You're trying to put this there. Production of radios and production of coolers. We do that. So we can put coolers on one of the axis and radios on the other axis. And we have this point 0, 12, 3, 6, 6, 0. So 0, 12, that's what we have here. 3, 6, and 6, 0. Right? So that is Megan's PPF. We've been able to derive Megan's PPF. We can do the same for Harry. We share the resources equally 0, 12, and then 12, 0. And this will be the coordinate we have. So here we have 0, 24. So the 0 here represents radios and then coolers. Since we have this, we can calculate the opportunity cost, right? For Megan and then the opportunity cost for Harry. If we do that, we will be able to see which or who is producing at a higher opportunity cost or at a lower opportunity cost. But if you understand up to this point, where we have the opportunity cost for Megan and Harry, we can just start answering certain questions. Now the question is, who has an absolute advantage? The ability to produce more using fewer resources. That's the meaning of absolute advantage. Now let's look at Megan. We take one of the production or the product. We're going to take radios and ask who has the absolute advantage in making radios. For this question, you can just see or get the answer from the question. You produce at the lowest cost. So for radio, for Megan, it takes 2 hours to do it. For Harry, it takes only 4 hours. So who has the absolute advantage? It is
Megan?
Megan, right? Yeah, for radio, Megan wins. What about cooler? It only takes 0.5 hours to produce a cooler for Harry, but for Megan, 1 hour. So for a cooler, Harry wins. But with okay, so that's what I have here. Harry has an absolute advantage in making coolers over Megan, but Megan has an absolute advantage in making radios over Harry. Now let's go to the comparative. Who has the comparative advantage? We can calculate Harry's opportunity cost. Let's start with cooler or let's say gaining radios. This is for Harry, right? So what would be the opportunity cost for radios for Harry? This is for Harry. So if we want to calculate the opportunity cost for radios, we are gaining radios, right? So we can choose any of the points. Here, let's move from A to B. We are gaining radios. How many radios are we gaining? Moving from point A to point B, how many radios? So the first one is the radio,
1.5.
1.5 radios. And how many coolers are we losing?
12.
Negative 12 coolers. And therefore the answer will be 12 divided by 1.5. And that should be 8. So negative 8 coolers over one radio. So for Harry to produce one radio, Harry would have to give up 8 coolers, right? Let's go look at Megan, radio. Opportunity cost for radio. That'll be equal to, let's do the same. We are moving from point A to B for Megan. How many radios are we gaining? Zero to three, how many radios? 3 radios, right? So we have radio and then coolers. So we are gaining from A to B, we are gaining 3 radios. We're losing how many coolers for Megan? 6 coolers. So 6 divided by 3 will be what? 2. So negative 2 coolers over one radio. So this is the opportunity cost for Megan for producing radio. So in terms of radio, Megan would have to lose 2 coolers. Harry would have to lose 8 coolers. Who has the comparative advantage? Who is losing less?
Megan?
Megan is losing less. So we say that here, Megan has the comparative advantage over Harry in producing radio, which means that Megan should specialize in producing radio. Automatically, Harry would have to specialize in producing coolers. But because of time, we'll end here and then continue with that. So this is what we did. We made a conclusion here that Megan has a comparative advantage in producing radio. Comparative advantage in producing radio because she has the lowest opportunity cost of producing radios between the two. So this is what we found. This will end every calculation. The moment you find this, everything is done. You can say that Harry should go and do the other one, specialize in the other one. But when we meet again, we'll do for Harry and then we'll compare. But this should be the end of whatever you want to do. We are done. All right. Thank you so much. If you have any question, you can stay on. I'll be on for some time. And otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your week. Please try and do the homeworks and the D12 assignment as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.